we have a high risk of compaction, and then we need to let that soil bounce back. And again, no-till doesn't work for everybody. Some people don't no-till very effectively. There's other techniques, reduced tillage and stuff. So again, maybe what we should be shooting for is kind of in the middle, reduced tillage, maybe rotational tillage, so you only do certain tillage operations after some crop phases and so on and so forth. So I guess there's more than one way to do things. So all of this I'm talking about, there's this guy, Six, that has studied the aggregation in the soil in detail. This is kind of one of the models he came up with. And he goes very detailed with, the large aggregates and then what's inside that aggregate. There's the smaller aggregates and medium size and small size, and then he kind of breaks them down and breaks down a little bit with the organic matter fractions. So here's contrasting a no-till scenario to a conventional tillage. What I like to point out is that, again, when you do any type of tillage, those aggregates are going to get disrupted. You're going to have to give that time, that soil. The aggregates are going to form. That's a natural tendency of the soil, but it's going to need time to reform. And one of the things that's happening is that, again, what's causing that re-aggregation is the biology of that soil. So going back to the soil health, right? Is that biology working on that? What is biology using as a food source? Remember the water. Using that organic matter, right? The organic carbon in the soil. Using the energy that is in that organic matter to reform this. So when we're having this happening, we're actually losing some of that organic matter because the microbes are having to use that to reform the aggregates, and so some of that gets lost in that manner. So we're, in a sense, losing energy out of the soil when that happens. So again, the issue is not tillage, but excessive tillage, excessive disruption of those aggregates, okay? So don't think that I'm a tillage hater. Tillage is very needed. You have compaction, you have manure, incorporate residues, incorporate, fertilizers, ag lime, what have not, all sorts of materials out there in the field. This fall, we had a lot of issues with wet fall, and we had a lot of rotting. How are you going to fix that rotting? Surface tillage. That's the only way really you can fix that. You want to have a good seed bed, come this spring. So it's just being thinking about it a little bit more, I guess, in a way that we're trying to maximize those aggregates in the field and helping that crop in the long run, actually. So here's a different way of looking at this data a little bit, the bulk density versus the water content. That's here in the left. So we're looking here, again, different tillage systems, and again, I want you to think about them as a level of aggregate disruption here. So the two open symbols are high disturbance, and the two closed are lower disturbance. And here's that water content, that critical water content. So that's the water content where that maximum bulk density happens, that maximum compaction. You can see when you have more aggregation, better aggregation, that soil can withstand to be wetter and not have as high compaction of risk of compaction. Excuse me. And again, I talk about organic matter. So here's that relationship, and there's a relationship between the amount of organic matter in the soil and this risk of compaction, if you will. And again, the solid symbols have greater organic matter, but you can see that relationship is not as tight as this other relationship. So it goes to show that organic matter is important. Again, kind of the same comment I made. The total organic matter is important, but there's other things that are also critical, like the organic matter types, different types of organic matter in the soil, and also the level of disruption of aggregates in the soil. Okay. And there's other biological things that get affected in the soil. So here we have looking at density of the soil, starting with a low density of 1.2, going all the way to 1.6. And here's basically decomposition of a plant residue, if you will. It's carbon mineralized out of a residue, just percent carbon, organic carbon. And you can see for the most part everything lies on top of each other, but then all of a sudden, when we go from like 1.5 to 1.6, you see a big steep drop off in this soil here. So there's some kind of critical threshold. A lot of times we think of things of being either on and off or shades of gray. And I would have thought this would have been kind of like a gradual increase, but this one seems one of those that somebody throws a switch and everything goes to heck. So think about density. So it's a reduction of pore space. That's where we have the water in the soil, the nutrients, right? That's where the microbes are living in the soil too. They're living in that solution, in that pore space. So it gets to a point that if we disrupt that enough, it's going to affect the function of that soil. It's gonna affect crop residue decomposition and all these kind of things. That will be destroying basically their home, I guess, if you will. Any questions about this? All right. So again, you know, it's all about the aggregation in the soil. We try to avoid, you know, things like this, like the platy. You know, you don't want to have a stack of plates in the soil. Roots are not going to grow very well through there. Water's not going to flow very well through there. Or, you know, a brick or a massive type compaction. We want something like this, where we have that space between those aggregates where water can penetrate, roots are going to penetrate, and all these kind of things. So we can get that water in the profile, and then we can recharge that profile for our crops to use it too. I think most of you have seen this in the past. Anybody has not seen this in the past? This slide? Should I skip it? It's just a study where they were looking at tillage and crop residue additions, and they were looking at different soil health properties. And these are some of the biological ones. These are the names, I guess, the coding that goes with the abbreviation here. Organic matter, parasitic nematodes, beneficial nematodes, decomposition rate of cellulose, potential mineral isomer nitrogen, easily extractable glomalin, and total glomalin. And glomalin, it's a part of the organic matter that it's often referred to as the glue for aggregates. It's what really gives aggregates a big stability. So we had 32 years of tillage and 32 years of removing the corn residue after grain harvest. So you're starving that soil essentially for carbon other than just the root system during the growing season. And so what was interesting here, I thought that addition of the carbon, what's going to be, or lack of addition of the carbon, going to be an overwhelming factor here. But what turned out to be more of an overwhelming factor was actually the disruption, the tillage of those aggregates. So again, that's a very important piece, that disruption of aggregates. And what they found at least in this scenario, was that the density of the soil, so the compaction level of the soil, the available water capacity, so these are the things I've been talking about with the irrigation, micropores, infiltration, water retention capacity, organic matter, I talked about how that links to the bulk density a little bit, I guess not directly, but then the availability of water, micropores, big pores and little pores in the soil. The decomposition rate of cellulose, that if you think about it, it's an indicator of activity, microbial activity in the soil, right? We talked about the density, how the density in the soil changes the decomposition of organic materials. So that's kind of an indicator of the activity of microbes in the soil. And then that glomalin, so it's a fraction again of the organic matter that it glues those aggregates. So everything links back to that aggregation piece, those aggregates. So that's why when I came up thinking about that three-step soil health assessment, or the three-step for soil health management in Wisconsin, we have fertility because that's critical for growing crops. That's why I threw that in there. Organic matter because it's critical to soil aggregation. And then the last one, you know, it's that piece about maintaining the aggregates in the soil. Because to me, all things seem to be pointing out to that right now. And, you know, three steps, easy peasy, I think easy to understand that it could be useful for a lot of you out there. So that's what I just talked about. So obviously compaction is a bad thing, but again, it's all about maintaining that aggregation in the soil and managing the aggregates in our soil. That's I think what we should try to think about and be mindful about, and that's going to help our productivity in the long term. Any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
You're talking about compaction in these big trucks. A lot of fellows now are going to single tire, or wide single tire instead of the duals.
On the, like,
On the trailer?
Yeah.
And on the tractor?
Mm-hmm.
Which one has less compaction?
I'm not familiar, I've seen the single tire, but I'm not familiar, how much pressure do you know whereabouts?
I don't know what they put in there.
Anybody knows? My gut feeling would be, I mean, like I said, I haven't researched that, but my gut feeling would be that the single tire, it has a bigger footprint, and so I would think that would be a better scenario for lower compaction risk. So it's about that contact patch, essentially. I think those would have a bigger contact patch with the ground. You're spraying on them. Any other questions or comments?
Has there been any research done
a very good point. It's, and like you said, it's very complicated. There's been some attempts, to do that, and it gets tricky because it really depends too on the soil texture, I guess, that you have. And then you can also break it down in you know, two major benefits would be what you mentioned is the nutrient that are organic matter, but also too then the benefits from the water holding capacity and then the filtration in the soil. That's actually a lot harder to figure out than the organic matter. I attempted to do that, and I used a calculator from University of Minnesota, and I forget the details because I did that a while back. And I was able to get some value to that, and what I did was exactly what you're saying. I think I assumed a silicone texture, so I just picked one texture just to illustrate. And I had a table with going from 1%, 2%, something like that, and showing the value. I forget now, but it started like $4 or $5, you know, and it ended up like 17, so 1% might end up being about $5 or so. Per acre, 1%, and that was a pretty rough estimate, which it doesn't sound very big, but you know, start adding a little piece here, a little piece there, it all adds up, and that's without not counting the water part. So it's very difficult, and people have been trying for a while to kind of get to that, but we'll continue to work on that, I guess.
I think it would depend a little bit too on the price of nitrogen.
It depends on, yeah, the price of the fertilizers too, yep, because that estimate I made was about a year and a half ago, so it's probably very different now. Yeah,
So
good point.
if you're gonna pick one thing to work on first, to try to help somebody out, would you say fix your pH first and then go from there?
If somebody has a fertility problem, you mean, Mark, or?
Yeah.
That would be, the pH is up, I would say start from there. If you